welcome to the new channel. For those of you who've just come across from the main channel, this will be the main channel now. That will no longer be the main channel. Talking here is gonna, well, I have been talking here for a while now on this channel. It sort of allows me to go outside of where the gravity of where the other channel has gone. So the other channel is very much a channel about narcissism and CPTSD. And I had the choice of whether I wanted to try and turn that ship around or whether I should just start a new channel. And I just, in the final analysis, I kind of felt like it just wasn't very fair. If people have subscribed to that channel because they want information on narcissism and CPTSD, to then be like, oh no, we're not talking about that anymore, we're going to talk about this. So on this channel here, I have free reign to discuss things that go outside of that. One of the things that has been on my mind for the last couple of months, and it goes back to another video released on this channel, which was my ayahuasca experience, was trying to get past this split between body and mind. So if we have somebody who has a psychological issue and then we give them psychological solutions, at one level of logic, that would seem to make sense. If you've deconstructed the human down to, and then pulled them apart, like you take apart a machine on a white sheet, and then you pull the different pieces apart so you can see them. Makes sense. It's a perfectly valid way of doing analysis and of working for solutions within systems. But it's not the only way, and we tend to use it too much. Of course, it's a construct. There's no thing that we can see or cut out from a corpse that is the mind. Indeed, the psyche of psychology, psyche is not Greek for mind, psyche is Greek for soul, which is awkward because then you're like, ooh, we're going to talk soul now. So that's spirituality and religion. But this is the rather awkward sort of half-light that psychology treads in. It's got one foot in one world and one foot in another. Always has, always will. And it's a challenge. So what I wanted to do is start putting these pieces back together. If somebody's traumatized or they have a problem, because the person who is traumatized is not just a mind, nor are they just a hormonal system, nor are they just a body, nor are they just their emotions. They're all of these constructs and metaphors we have for the incredibly complicated thing a human being is. They're all working together. And sometimes the way in which they work together produces results that we want, and sometimes it produces results that we don't want. So if we can get outside of the kind of moral condemnation that's implicit in some of the ways in which we do mental health, and we can free ourselves up and just go, okay, we can draw from, I don't know even what you'd call it, like holistic medicine or alternative medicine or just an alternative approach, that's going to make it more powerful. The way that I like to think about it is just systems thinking. There's a whole discipline called systems thinking. And because there's no such thing as mind and body, there's a body-mind. And because to the human being experiencing the trauma, they're not like, oh, I have a problem in my mind, but it's manifesting. I feel nauseous, or I have IBS, or it gives me a weird feeling in my feet, or it's making me feel really lazy today, or whatever it is. They're just experiencing it as one clump. So when we pull it apart and go, oh, okay, we'll give you a mental solution to a mental problem, it's cold comfort for the human being. Very, very cold comfort. And they're like, oh yeah, that's good. Thanks for that CBT technique. Thanks for that NLP technique. But it's not really getting to where they are. So if we can come back to putting the system back together, I think it behooves us to be more focused on the body, to be more focused on what is happening at the physical level and at this not very well explored territory of endocrinology, your hormones. as time has gone by, especially in the last 6 months, I've become more and more convinced that our behaviors and even our beliefs and even our morality is massively impacted by our hormones, by where we are up to at the biochemical level. There's many things that have happened that have led me to this place, but one of the things that, if you're interested in my work and you've been following it on the other channel, that you would probably find historically interesting is when I would repeatedly say, you've got to access your emotions, you have to access emotional literacy, but then there's this weird space between emotion and cognition that I would just say the somatic space. What did I mean by the somatic space? It was just, well, how do you feel in your body? You know, if you're really depressed, there's emotions around depression. It could be sadness, it could be loss, it could be grief, it could be rage that's collapsed and then become depression. Could be, it could be all kinds of different emotions, but it physically feels in your body a certain way. As somebody who's dealt with pretty strong depression on and off over the years, I don't experience it as a cognitive problem. I know some people do. For some people, their descriptions of depression, it's quite cognitive, like thoughts of despair, double-bind thoughts. They can't think of a way out of the situation. For me, it's physical. It's always been physical. It's always been a somatically, subjectively experienced as like a very dark force that's crushing me and holding me down. This is just one example. And that's the somatic space. When I feel good and I want to get things done and I'm joyful and I'm happy and I have a good sense of humor and I'm out in the world and I'm dancing around and I'm cheerful and upbeat, that's not cognitive. I mean, the cognitions follow, but it's somatic. It's far more like the immediacy of a drug experience. It's in my body. There might be a tingling sensation in my chest. That tingling sensation might be like feelings of electricity that run through my limbs that gives me energy. It makes me feel motivated. It makes me get up and ready to do things, to take action and to enjoy myself. But physically I'm there, somatically I'm there. And I think that it's very tempting if we try and stay in the world of academic, cognitive, scientific psychology to ignore that. But it's a real mistake because it's a key component of the human experience. Say, let me phrase this another way. Say you're depressed, you're clinically depressed, and you say, I've spoken to a clinician, they say I'm clinically depressed. And you go for group therapy with 5 people. Number one, there's no way of you knowing that you're experiencing what they're experiencing. In fact, we know that you probably aren't because depression is such a blanket term for so many multiple states. But imagine, number one, you go there, you don't know what everybody else is experiencing. It's impossible. You can use language and you can kind of meet and say, oh, this is how it is for me, this is how it is for me. But say we turned up for group therapy and you say, oh, yeah, okay, fine. I don't really believe in group therapy, but I'll try it. And then you get there and there's some weird, annoying hippie therapist, really brightly clothed. They insist on being called some weird fucking name in Sanskrit that means garden hose or something. And you just find them annoying. You just say, oh, fucking hippie. And they walk around and they've got bracelets on their ankles and they tinkle when they walk. Irritating. So irritating. They can't just call themselves Bob or Sarah. They've got to be called the shaman hummingbird bumhole or something weird like that. And you say, oh God, why am I doing this? This is so annoying. And they say, okay, we're going to do finger painting for therapy. And you're like, oh, fucking hell, I don't want to do this. But you're committed, you're there, it's 45 minutes, you're sharing a ride back with somebody, you can't escape. So you do the finger painting. You don't believe in it, you're not interested in it, the person running the thing sucks, the whole thing is ridiculous, you feel like an 8-year-old being patronized. You have a real clinical condition and they want you to do finger painting. And then somewhere in the half an hour of you pretending to go along with the finger painting, just so you will be left alone by this weird hippie, just so you can leave, your physical state changes. You don't feel depressed. Suddenly you're in this childlike state of wonder, somebody draws something funny, I don't know, it looks like a dick or something, and you start giggling like a kid, and you draw one too, and physically you just feel better. Somatically, you just feel better. But you can't explain why, because in science we need the pathology. We need to know the process, because if we can't reproduce it, it doesn't have validity. It's almost, I don't even know if that's a tenet of science. I think it's a tenet of, it is a tenet of science. It's a tenet of experiments. If you can't reproduce it, the experiment's not valid. So when you run an experiment, you get an effect. I need to run the experiment and get the same effect, or else it's not valid. So I just remembered it must be reproducible. But I can't reproduce the way that you came in depressed, then really irritated, then you just started feeling good. So therefore it has no validity to me as the clinician, or to science, or to the field of psychology, but you felt better. There are just so many countless anecdotes of people who've gone through this. I think we need to start looking at this and going, no, that's what's valid. Because science, culture, media encourages us to live symbolically. And we're so stiff and so proud and so heavy with our symbolic living. Because, hey, it's cool. Like, we're recording this on a camera, there's lights, there's Wi-Fi. All of this came from pulling things apart. All of this comes from the realm of the intellect. It's all symbolic. Computers, Wi-Fi, smartphones, digital cameras, it's all from the realm of the symbolic. If I get run over by a car right now and I survive, I don't want finger painting. I want to go and see some doctors who are trained from the realm of the symbolic, who are trained to pull things down systematically. You can put me back together again. And by the way, I'd like some painkillers, please. So I'm not saying one is better than the other or dismissing one over the other. We need it all. We need it all. But we've got to bring this back in and say, okay, what if some really weird fucking thing just makes me feel better, but I can't describe it to a psychiatrist and I can't reproduce it for somebody else? I don't know what that thing would be for you. It might be finger painting. It might be writing poetry. It might be writing a film script in which you have other people play the characters of you in conflict with your mother. It might be, I don't know what it would be for you, because it would be subjective, unique, non-reproducible, and in the somatic space. Subjective, non-reproducible, unique, totally useless to the field of psychology. Useless academically, useless scientifically. Totally valid to you as a human being. It could, I don't want to overstate it, but it could be the difference between life and death. Because if these things that are unique, weird, eccentric, non-reproducible, only solipsistically experienced, that they're purely anecdotal, God no, it could be astrology, it could be dowsing, it could be tarot cards, it could be chanting, it could be, any one of these things, tapping, shiatsu, tai chi. It's non-scientific, but it means something to you. It has an effect on you. That's what we need to be pulling into the space and saying, okay, this is valid. For me personally, and I've not spoken about it on the channel for a number of reasons. I don't want to be accused of being ableist. I don't want to be accused of being non-scientific. I've kind of over the years grown more and more cowardly over what I will and won't talk about. And it's the weight of that channel and where it's gone. Whereas here, there is no weight to the channel. It's my channel, it's new, and I can talk about whatever I want. The realm of the physical and even the realm of the spiritual has been hugely important to me in my own personal recovery. I wouldn't have survived without it. I wouldn't and I've never spoken about that because of my fear, because of my slow growing cowardice over the years. And I think it's an aging thing. You become more risk averse, you become more conflict averse. When I was young, I'd fight anybody and I wouldn't care. And as you get older, you're like, ugh, I can't be bothered. It doesn't lead anywhere, it's pointless. But it means that I've been somewhat dishonest through a mission. I would not have recovered from CPTSD without being able to go to the gym 4 times a week and smash it out. What does that mean? Does that mean you need to go to the gyms 4 times a week and smash it out? No. It might mean you need to take up music. It might mean you need to take up poetry. It might mean, God knows. Swimming could be your thing. I've spoken to people, multiple people in fact, who tell me that long distance running is the most intense spiritual experience they can go through. I have in my family people who do Ironman. They do the Ironman thing where you, I don't know, run a marathon, swim across the ocean and then shove a bike up your arse. It's really hard and it goes on. It's like cardio that goes on for 12 to 14 hours. It's completely insane, but they love it. They love the training for it. They love the doing of it, and they're getting something from that. I don't know what your thing would be, but it's a thing. I suspect that being in the body and moving rhythmically with your breath is key. I suspect this because when I was growing up, I did Qigong, Tai Chi, and Aikido. I was into the more esoteric end of the martial art world. When then, as it went on, it became much more combative, MMA, Muay Thai, and if you couldn't knock somebody out with it, I wasn't interested. But back in the day when I was studying Aikido, the key precepts of the fundamentals of Aikido was things like cold water dousing, controlling your breath, and what O-sensei was big on was movement, breath with intent. So anything that you set an intent for, if you moved rhythmically and controlled your breath with it, that could, so then this came back around. I was like, well, when I'm in the gym and I'm hoisting weights around, of course, you start to breathe in rhythm with the weight movement because you have to in order to get the weight to move. So you are actually controlling your breathing. There is an intent. There is a rhythm to it. Or if I go on the bags and I start smashing the bags, there's breath, there's rhythm, there's intent. Is this important? Could this help other people? These are the things that I want to explore, but without imposing my view on it. I like lifting weights. I like punching bags. I like it very, very much. That doesn't mean that you need to, but I do suspect you need to do something that puts you in your body. So here's what going to the gym and smashing weights does for me. Deeper breathing, rhythmic movement. I'm usually listening to music. It puts me in an altered state of consciousness. Blessed silence. The ego chatter stops and I switch off. I'm in my zone. I'm in a different state. I'm either listening to music through headphones or I'm listening to music in the gym, and I'm just not in my normal state. It's blissful to escape yourself for a while, 45 minutes, an hour and a half. So for you, it could be yoga. For you, it could be chanting. It could be drum. It could be music. It could be writing. But something I suspect that has these elements to it. Puts you in your body, unifies movement with breath, causes you to breathe in a different pattern, and allows you to escape yourself. I'll be making different suggestions here. If people have suggestions in the comments, please let me know. But let's now not try to play the game of being good scientists. If it's non-reproducible, purely subjective to you, purely solipsistically valuable, and you can't show me because it's in your body. So we're way away from behaviorism here. It's non-objectively verifiable. You say that when you jump up and down and spin in a circle backwards to the Teletubby theme, that it cures your depression and you feel ecstatic in your body. I can't prove it. I can't see it. You could be acting, you could be faking it. But if that's the thing that works for you, I'd like to know, because I'm sure there will be a common theme through all of these practices that we do. And if it works for you, prioritize it in your life. There will be strange, unique, eccentric things that are just for you, that work for you. Don't push them down because you're embarrassed of them or they're non-scientific, non-reproducible. Bring them forward and go, okay, what is this? How do I accentuate it? How do I use it? I think these are the things that will really help us to recover from trauma much more rapidly. Okay, that's it. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for your time and your attention. Hope you found that useful. Stay weird, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Cheers.